The date of this workshop was April 15th, 2021.
Hello neighbors, Christopher Henry here with Noya Mountain Music, and would like to give you a little intro to this video. So, during COVID, my good buddy and cousin Dave McLaughlin, Hall of Famer from the Johnson Mountain Boys, mandolin player, Monroe style expert, and I started doing the Monroe style workshops. We've done many different ones. We started out with Monroe style improvising, 1, 2, and 3. Each of those led to a 12-week course, which is available at noyamountainmusic.com. But what we did is we started learning these devices, and we had lots of special guests come in. Monroe style improvising went for 3 12-week courses, and then we had the Monroe Lineage series, which was 2 courses, and then the Monroe Legacy courses, which were 2 of those, and then now we're on to the Monroe style jam. Anyway, so we have lots of special guests, and one of the ones that's the most important is Mike Compton.
So the tunes for this workshop are Jerusalem Ridge and Will You Be Loving Another Man.
And it's a great workshop, lots of good learning and information being shared. And if you'd like to support this free material on YouTube, please consider becoming a Noya Mountain Music patron at patreon.com/Noya Mountain Music. Oh yeah, please consider liking, subscribing, and put a little comment into the comment section if you'd like to. That helps us all with our algorithms and bluegrass rhythms.
And so just to give you a little heads up, in the workshop, sometimes we really focus heavily on the tunes, and sometimes our conversation is a little bit more informal, and we drift off and talk about this and that, usually centered around Monroe. And sometimes we really focus more on certain aspects of the tunes and the songs, and sometimes we're just visiting, talking about the culture, different, conceptual ideas, telling stories, all that kind of stuff. This is more one of those kind of workshop. Lots of stories. There's a lot of talking in this one, just so you know. And we feel like this is okay because the students, they've already been studying all the massive amount of material that David and I have sent them. And so we've got to know them pretty well by this point. That's usually a regular kind of core crowd of about, half a dozen or 8 or so. And so they've been working on their parts. And then in the second hour of the workshop, which isn't included in this video upload for YouTube, we go through with them and listen to their arrangements and give them constructive criticism, all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes when we veer a little bit more off on the storytelling side of town, we feel that's okay because it's part of the culture and learning about the music and Monroe style. All right, so there you go.
All right, so without further ado, here is the Monroe Style Workshop featuring Mike Compton.
Y'all ever heard that story about David leaving his mandolin in the parking lot of a Kentucky Fried Chicken one time after a Johnson Mountain Boys show? a couple hours down the road, come back.
3 o'clock in the morning. We were on tour. I live in Winchester, just about, 5 miles from Stephen City or whatever. So we did a concert over near Baltimore, Maryland, finished that like, I don't know, at 11, packed up. And we were going to meet in our cars at the Kentucky Fried Chicken in Stephen City, where the manager gave us a touring parking right. So we could use that as a meeting ground and park our cars in the Kentucky Fried Chicken and leave them there. And they'd be safe because the parking lot was always well lighted and had security cameras and all that. So we felt like it was a great place to park our cars and meet with we had a touring van, I think I rented a van. We're going to go somewhere south, I don't know, towards Texas or something. We met at Stephen City at the KFC parking lot about 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2. And we were doing like a chain gang, passing luggage and instruments to people, somebody was putting it in the back of the van. So it was really no one person in particular's fault, but we didn't check to make sure everything got in the van, but we drove away and we got about 45 miles down Interstate 81 going towards Roanoke. And I got this funny feeling I needed to check to make sure my mandolin was in the back. And I told the guy, I was riding shotgun, and I said, look in the back and make sure my mandolin's back there. For some reason, I'm having this weird feeling it's not in here.
Yeah, I think it's part of your body.
And they looked and it was not there. So we turned around, drove 45 minutes back up the highway. On from the mandolin about an hour and a half. Got back to the KFC, I don't know, 4:30 in the morning, and my mandolin was still sitting there in the case, right under a bright spotlight. It was like, oh, the first thing I did, I opened the case thinking, it's not going to be in there. Of course, the whole ride back, I was thinking, there's no way that mandolin was gone, because Dudley had been loading the van, and he thought he'd loaded it in, but then, he didn't remember, and everything was moving so fast. The mandolin was there, it was safe, and we just threw it in the back of the van and headed down to whatever show we were going to.
And you changed your underwear.
We all have our goofball moments.
Oh, yeah.
Ever since then, I have learned not to simply take it out and then trust someone else to load it in. I make sure before I get in the vehicle, I know where that mandolin is in its position, load it in, and then we're ready to go. That way I don't have to ask someone, hey, did you load that mandolin in there an hour ago?
Right, right. Never leaving it in the car. Like Red always takes his instruments in with him to eat and all that kind of stuff.
And still to this day, from that experience, even after I know I've loaded it in, or I saw someone else load it in, like Marshall or whoever, like just last week, we were heading out to your parents' house, Chris, a week ago, and we got like in the van. Marshall loaded my mandolin in. I saw him load the mandolin in, but we got like, 5 miles west of Winchester, around, I don't know, Round Hill or someplace. And I said, Marshall, are you sure you loaded my mandolin in? I saw you loaded it in, but are you sure you loaded it in? Am I sure you loaded it in? And Susie and Marshall looked in the back and said, yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
It hasn't left the van.
Definitely. We love our instruments. So I've spent time with everybody on these two tunes, and thank you so much for your great video, David. I thought that was super cool that you played all the way through Will You Be Loving Another Man. I know
Yeah, I was jamming along with it.
yeah, there are folks that really connected with that. Great video there. So I think honestly everybody's good on these assignments. We don't need to spend too much time talking about this stuff, because I want to jump into, but I want to spend like 5 minutes on it. So David, would you mind just like pointing out some of the the cliff notes and Will You Love Another Man, like just the most important stuff that you feel like is essential to know about that tune, playing that tune?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't really know what the most important thing about that or any tune as far as devices or spirituality, but I can just tell you I'm sure I have spent in my lifetime hundreds of hours playing along with that song.
Wow.
Hundreds of hours playing along with everything else. I spent thousands of hours playing along with Monroe records. And back when I was learning to play mandolin, I had a turntable. My parents made sure that when I was a kid, I had a high-end turntable and system in my room so I could hole up in there with an instrument and lift that needle on and put it back down and repeatedly play. So that was one of the things I wanted to do with Will You Be Loving Another Man, is I wanted to simply show you guys how I would just jam along with that stuff. That's why I'm playing the mandolin break during Earl's break and the fiddle break, Chubby Wise's fiddle breaks. I'm just jamming along with everybody. And when I would also play the fiddle along with it. And I would obsess on the fiddle break, and I just play the fiddle during everybody's break. And I would also play the banjo during everybody's break. And the guitar, that's how I learned to play. And if I wanted to study Monroe's particular break, I just slow it down to half speed, which would lower everything an octave, which is I wish I'd had the tools back then that we have now, like the Amazing Slowdowner, Audio Stretcher, the YouTube. I don't know if you all ever go into YouTube and actually log into YouTube, where you have the tool where you can change the playback speed. Man, I just would have killed for access to YouTube back in the 1960s and 70s and been able to slow down the speed to 75% or 50%. But on Will You Be Loving Another Man, I believe I just kind of played it up to speed, and I just decided I'm going to jam along with the whole thing, mistakes and everything, imperfections, and just show you how I spent. And I still do that today, except now I can slow it down to 75% or 50% if I need to. Now, if I want to play along with Chris Thiele or whoever, that's what I do, because I can't play Chris Thiele at even 75%, let alone 100%. But so that's what I did with that recording. I thought, yeah, I'm just going to do that, jam along with it, and play various breaks.
I love that, and I'll just second that. Playing along with that rhythm section, playing along with those musicians, like that's in training with the resonance of the real stuff. So you're hearing it right there, hundreds of hours, thousands of hours playing along with that stuff. I know that when I play along with Bill, my mandolin likes it. Like I don't know, maybe it's I just like I'll get done playing with the record or whatever, and I'll just listen to my mandolin, and I don't know if it's because I changed the way I play or something, or the mandolin just likes those frequencies, but the mandolin will just start to have the bluegrass sound. And
sometimes I can't tell if it's me or the mandolin, but when I play along with Monroe, I somehow, and I think you get into this zone too, where you feel like you're actually channeling something,
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, this mandolin is like doing its own thing, and I get freaked out because I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Autopilot.
It's on autopilot, and all these little Monroe tones and earth tones and root tones and ancient tones, and spirituality comes out of the instrument. And I remember when I remember spending years playing the mandolin and not knowing really how to do it, and didn't really have a teacher. I didn't start taking mandolin lessons until I had become an advanced mandolin player. Then I decided, okay, I'm really good on the mandolin. I think I'm going to take some mandolin lessons from some people and make them look stupid, maybe, and then my mandolin instructor, he put me in my place very quickly. And the first thing he taught me is I don't know diddly squat about how to play the mandolin right. So that was great, taking lessons later on. But I remember spending years thinking, I don't know, I could play the notes that Monroe's playing, but for some reason it doesn't sound like Monroe, because I'm just playing the notes, but it's not playing the notes and playing the way is not the same thing. Mm-hmm. You can write out the notation, or you can tab out Monroe notes, but that's not going to make you even come close to sounding like what Monroe did. There's something that transcends the musical notation. It's like dialect in writing. You can write a book in dialect, but that doesn't really get across the way the character's speaking. It's the same thing in music. Notation, like, how do we really know what the composer wanted something to sound like unless we have an audio recording? This is why we learn to play by ear. There's a place for musical literacy. I believe in literacy, and if I don't have access to audio, I like notation and tablature. If I need to look at something to clarify something, but that doesn't. I can look at tab. Like you can tab out. Say, let's go back to Chris Thile, for example. You can tab out "Ode to a Butterfly," and then you can play it as it's tabbed out or written in sheet music. But then you listen to the record. It doesn't sound anything like the way Chris plays it. It's not the notes. It's the way Chris is playing it. It's the same thing with Monroe.
Yeah, the spirit.
I remember, back to my story I remember in the 1970s when I started thinking, wow, I'm starting to sound, I hear a little bit of that essence of Monroe in my own playing. But it just took massive amounts, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of not just being driven and obsessed with it, but being possessed by it. That's what it takes.
On that religious level. You mentioned, let's just segue into the composition idea, because that's where we're heading next week. Gonna do 3 options for next week. We're gonna do Little Maggie. Bill's version of Little Maggie. Josh recommended that, and I think that's a great one to do. And then, so that's going to be the big main study, and then it's going to be composition. There's also going to be a third option, which is going to be Blue Ridge Cabin Home. That lesson is on the Bluegrass Unlimited. It's an exclusive lesson for Bluegrass Unlimited. It's all there. The full note for all the lesson and a practice track is on there, so you can go either ways. But I would love it if everybody got into composition and just talking about how important this is. If you think about, and this is the way I look at it, you think about all the great disciples of Bill Monroe, starting with Frank Wakefield, just kind of going, in order of, age. Of course, he was the one that cracked the molecule the first, and was the first one to start writing, Monroe style tunes like that. And then Red and David and Compton and Ronnie, those are the guys that have not only, mastered Monroe style, but through that process of mastery, writing tunes. Like, it's super important to be writing tunes and to be recording yourself, and so you can hear what it sounds like, because it then you get into all the aspects of your interaction with your own creativity, what you like, what you don't like, editing, arranging, all this kind of stuff. But if you look at all those masters and like what separates why are these guys just so good? It's because they did everything. They played in bands. They did hundreds of thousands of hours of playing along with Bill, practice, jamming, all this kind of stuff. But composition is a huge part of it. And if you think about improvising, improvising is that same kind of thing. And if you haven't really gotten into David's, catalog of great tunes, you definitely want to, check out the Granite Hill, the Maury River Blues, the Georgia Stomp. Those are three really good places to start. If you don't know those tunes, those are three masterpieces of Monroe style. It's McLaughlin style, but it's based off what Bill did. And so we spent a year. A lot of y'all been with us for a year. All this creative energy, all this improvising spirit, all this kind of stuff. And we did one last year. We did composition last year. It's time to revisit it. I want to get y'all like gung ho on this, and after Compton leaves, I'm gonna talk a little bit. But but before he gets here, David, would love for you to just talk about composition and how you relate to it, like how you started to do it, like your kind of mental process with all that.
Yeah, I started composing early, and I took years of classical piano lessons, classical violin lessons, classical mandolin lessons, classical guitar lessons, and was constantly submerged in the music scene. And my parents, it was like a second language, understanding music, listening, constant submersion in music. And so at an early age, I started learning about and understanding chord theory and melody and counter melody and how notes all work together within a chord structure, how to formulate chord structure. So I started writing songs early. I know you did too. And I think I don't know, I think being exposed to music a lot. I'm not saying you need to be exposed to music from early childhood or from birth to become a composer. There's all kinds of people that don't start playing music or thinking about that until they're in their 40s or 50s, and then they become great composers. But it's never too late to start. And one of the things I actually do in my teaching is teach people how to understand chord theory and then how to create melodies which fit within certain chord structures.
Yeah. So with I'm a freak when it comes to like creativity. If y'all don't know about this,
you are. You are amazing, and you are a free flow composer. And I think I am too, where I can basically write a tune on command, on the fly, spontaneously, and I'm constantly doing that.
Would you demonstrate that for us? Is that something that we can try?
Sure.
Awesome. This is exactly what I was hoping we could do, because what I'd love to do, and what I'm going to do on my little segment too, is demonstrate that. Because Monroe, check this out. Monroe said he could write 4 or 5 tunes in like 5 minutes, just one right after another. And he said, I never wrote a tune, I just grabbing it out of the air, channeling it. So we're about to see that. It's great. Thank you, David. There's a tune.
There you go.
Tune number 1.
Huh?
Tune number 1. You just did it like that, and it just flowing. Perfect. That's the whole essence of all of it.
Here's a song I wrote a few weeks ago. It just came out. It goes. Whoops, it's in the key of G. Not that I can't play it in C. Here's another one I wrote a couple weeks ago.
Beautiful. Love those chords.
And I call that Hello Sunshine, Goodbye Rain.
Nice. Love it. Welcome, Mike Compton. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Fresh in from working in the garden. I don't know if I could even hold a mandolin, much less play one.
Nice. Getting the earth tones happening.
I'm glad I didn't know Compton was sitting in here. I get all nervous and embarrassed when I have to play and he's listening to it.
And somewhat verbose. You lie. You a lie.
Playing in front of your hero is not an easy thing.
I've tried to do it. I know all about that.
It is windy outside, so maybe the satellites up in space are blowing around.
It could be the wind. So,
careening off one another, as it were.
That's right. That's right. Bouncing around a little bit. So, I think everybody's got a pretty good handle on Jerusalem Ridge and Why Blam. Will you be loving another man? But would love for you, Mike, if you wanted to just kind of hit on some of the most important things that, you know, if there's anything on your radar about that you think about with each tune. Are there any kind of like cliff notes that you might offer to everybody on those two tunes?
Cliff note wise, just what I said in the video about another man. Bill, it seems like he has sort of a lope in his right hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, da 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 down, 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 down. It's more noticeable. It's more noticeable in the front part and on the intro than anything else, because you don't get to hear him again, except right in the background. That's the main thing that I hear on that, and I think, as I mentioned in the video, I think maybe it had something to do with the way Earl was playing the role.
Interesting.
I did a class years ago, and Dick Bowden was willing to willing to be the guinea pig for it. I was just playing like 40s mandolin backup, and it was all about playing with the banjo. And I'm sure you've done a lot of it because of Casey. Yeah. Blending with banjo was an entire, just thinking about that's an entirely different thing. But we had, I think, about 4 people there that were even curious about what that was about. But we locked in for about an hour and a half, and it was a lot of fun. Just playing that way. I think it was, Bill was trying to do that. Otherwise, I really enjoyed listening to his backup all the way through there.
Totally. So playful and beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, for people that don't really study Bill a lot, but have heard him and just kind of pass it off as something old-fashioned and out of date, one of the things that I hear the most, and I'm sure that y'all do too, is that Bill plays really hard.
Yeah, sometimes, but definitely not always.
But yeah, I mean, it sounded like when he's playing the backup, like he's up in here someplace.
Yeah, really sweet.
you have to take it into consideration that they were probably two mics maximum, but probably just one. That there's no way in the world he could have played real loud and hard and played so beautifully and light. It just sounded like a little chorus of bells going on in the background.
Yeah.
When he was playing, you know.
Yeah, that's a super good point. So, maybe for the, I don't know, I'm sorry about that audio. I don't know what's going on. So maybe for the break, he was, maybe not playing as sweet with the tone, maybe a little closer to the bridge, but then to kind of tuck it in there, to play the backup, just a little sweeter, maybe a little rounder, and just like super amazing. Just texture with what he was doing, and that's just such a big aspect of Bill's playing that is generally overlooked when the chop is just full force all the time.
Well, either they feel like he plays chops really loud, and I think that sort of set an example. Just the misconception of it set an example for people to play. I don't know how many jam sessions you ever been in or walked by when everybody was just playing as hard as they could possibly play, playing as loud as they could.
Most of them.
And it always brings to mind that the thing that happened when I was on stage with about 7 or 8 mandolin players and Roland being one of them, and all the mandolin players were playing chop chords except for Roland, and he absolutely will not do it if somebody else is. And he walked by me and said, "This gets to be like chopping wood after a while."
Yeah, yeah. The chorus of chopping. I love this. This thing in Nashville where it's a kind of maybe an older thing where a fiddler will play. And then he'll just sit there and hold his fiddle. He's not feeling compelled to just play all the time. And yeah, if there's like 14 people chopping, I might just hold my mandolin too.
Well, I think that's a country gig training right there.
You're probably right on that.
Play your thing and then you just until it comes around again.
Right. But not feeling obsessed with having to be occupied doing something all the time.
As far as Jerusalem Ridge goes, I mean, it seemed like there was a long time before I've ever heard a version of Bill playing it all the way through. But he pared it down. He didn't make any effort to play it like Kenny and all of us that were trying to play like him, just trying to guess what he might have played. And I had it dead wrong. But I guess the last version that I heard of him doing it was in Norris, Tennessee, up close to Knoxville at the Tennessee Homecoming up there.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill had gotten pretty out of it at that point in time. There's a video of him playing it. You could find it, but he's walking around on stage, just kind of playing it, and it's just like he seems like he doesn't know where he is. It was hard. It was hard for me to watch. I was gulping all the way through it. But if I'm not mistaken, he played a really nice version of Jerusalem Ridge on there, and it was real soft. But all those things in it, those extra things in it, he was really working that C. I keep saying, I'm sorry, it's not a C position. That position right there that looks like a C chord, but it's not.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, I might have that wrong, Chris, but I believe it's that same show where he played this. But he's really working out of those notes right there, and it kind of has some momentum in it if you listen to it. Like that, and he plays an A note and an open D underneath it.
One of the things I like that you're doing, and you do this, and Chris does it, and I do it naturally. I notice it after I watch a video I've done, but you pulse that backbeat.
Yep.
That's it's like not too many people get that, and often it's very, very subtle. Like Chris will do it, and he'll show the students how to pulse that backbeat, and then he exaggerates it. But when Chris isn't even thinking about it, I'll see Chris on stage or in a video where he's just jamming along. He's got this real subtle little pulse on that backbeat, and it goes, I remember Monroe used to do that kind of thing. And a lot of the blues guys did it on the guitar.
It helps you stay in time. It's a really good point of reference.
It also helps the music stay danceable. You ever notice how if music is devoid of backbeat, people don't dance to it. But if you you get a good backbeat in there, then people are moving around in their chairs. They can't not move.
Yeah, yeah.
And Monroe knew that.
Well, I think it just helped. For me, it helps to remember that it's a story about fox hunting and
nicely,
and that there's dogs running, and some of these things, the way Baker plays. I always imagine that as being dogs going in the background,
I love that.
Baker's like he's playing dogs, and Bill talks about
playing dogs. I love that.
Bill said that you can hear the foxhorn being blown in there, and then of course he would always talk about the foxhorn that he used to have whenever he was real young, and he learned how to play Old Joe Clark on it, and his brothers took it away from him and hid it so he would stop. But I figured that, if you ever heard anybody blow a foxhorn like that, I don't know which part of it is, but it helps me to present the tune in much more of a storytelling kind of a way if I remember what all the elements of what this thing is about.
Super important. Thank you for that.
Well, it just makes it something real instead of just a bunch of notes.
Where's my party icon on? Yeah. That's it. It makes it something real. It makes it a part of something. And thank you so much for
yes, baby. Yes, baby.
let's have a little listen to this just real quick. Super cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. I think I might have seen a piece of that that performance is all there. If you look at Tennessee Homecoming Monroe, you'll find that there.
I love that.
Yeah.
But on the first time, he plays major chord in there on the D.
Yeah.
He doesn't play. It's not a D minor for him. A lot of people play that, and he reaches up and he plays it with his pinky and his middle finger.
Old timey.
Yeah. So, but this part. It seems like, I was thinking about this today, it seems like at one point in time, I remember seeing him play this by himself, and I have no idea where it was. But he put his glasses on, and he didn't have a hat on, and I don't remember where in the world that could have been. But because, usually he's got a hat on if he's on stage. And, but he played it by himself, and I don't remember where that could have been. But he was playing into a microphone. But you know, that being striking enough, but the way he played the high part, it was almost like he was playing an old time fiddle tune. He didn't play all of those nice subtle little things that Baker played on it. He kind of squared it off, but I remember him locking his finger down and then played his next melody note was in that C chord position.
Right.
And then this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's all there.
Yeah.
And then it was really deliberate. He did the mandolin that way whenever he played those notes.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's the bits that I remember. But it's I don't think mandolin wise that you can really do it justice if you've grown up listening to Baker's version of it. Of course, everybody wants to sound that way,
Right.
But it just doesn't work on mandolin.
No, it's completely different, and that third part is a really cool study because it's a bit mysterious, and then these couple little recordings that do have it just really offer a lot in terms of that kind of conversion factor. It's like, okay, here's the you know, not to say flowery, but the more, I don't want to say superfluous, more notes, and then just, you know, lowering the home load to everything.
More elaborate.
Yeah, nicely. Cool. Thank you for all that. Let's switch gears because the next workshop that we're going to do Little Maggie, because that's just so cool. You know how he played that, and then we're going to do a composition option. And so hopefully we'll get everybody to write a tune. And I was just, reminding folks, a lot of this is just, reminding us all of what we already know. But all the greatest Monroe style pickers, my favorites anyway, are heavily adept at composition. And so I would love it if you wanted to just share some of your experience with tune writing, like how you got started, like some things that you try to go for, and just kind of like talk about your process a little bit, if that's cool.
Yeah, I don't remember whenever I did start writing tunes. I remember vividly the first couple of ones that I remember writing, was about 1977 or 8, and I don't know what brought all of it on. I don't up until that point. I don't think I've thought about it much, but just trying to figure out playing all this stuff kind of lit a fire under my muse. I haven't had a real deliberate attempt at doing it until maybe about the 80s, and then started trying to write things off of Monroe's tunes.
Nice. How's that work? Writing, like getting inspiration from
taking phrases that he played, and listening to the way he did his own work, which was to take his vocabulary and think of it as if it's a language, which it is, and rearrange things around in it so that whenever using the same licks and coming up with something that sounds different, the sort of like all of that stuff that he did in the Dangerfield and Jerusalem Ridge would fit in there. You could put some of those kinds of licks in there, Scrooge, and all of that modal period of time where he just exhausted all the stuff in A.
Yeah. What's left for us?
Okay, that's fine. Let's get another key going here. Just working and using his formula, which is just rearrange the stuff, but trying things in different keys. One day not too long ago, I sat down and was playing Frog on a lily pad, and I wondered where it would fit in another key, and before it was over with, I had 8 tunes written off of Frog on a lily pad.
Wow.
But they were in different keys, and they kind of morphed into different grooves before it was over with. So
that's a great thing to think of. Would you play a couple of them?
I don't remember them. I played them all. It kind of felt like there was this surge of energy coming, and I just one of them right after another, and I just put parentheses around them and called them the Toad in the Road series and left it. But it was about changing keys, basing what I was playing off of a common melody to start with, and then just working with what options I had available whenever the keys change, and I'm just being willing to go with it and not fight it too much, and just let the muse do its thing. Hartford and Benny Martin used to a lot would change. Play songs in different keys, but they'd also change them from major to minor.
Good one.
They did on actually Jerusalem Ridge. Hartford recorded one with Grisman and I forget. What's his name? Oh God, he's an institution. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember his name.
Ralph Rensler? Zach says?
No. Oh God.
It'll come back to you as soon as you stop thinking about it, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, they played a version of Jerusalem Ridge in A major.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I think
entirely different. Or they would change the groove or the time signature. They make a waltz out of it instead of a breakdown,
nice.
Which is is the thought process behind Pike County Breakdown. You take Sweet Betsy from Pike and put a breakdown tempo to it, and there you go.
Yeah, so that right there, y'all can all take a note. Be like, that's a perfect formula for coming up with a great bluegrass tune. Take a classic older tune, maybe some 3/4, and supercharge it, make it 4/4, and then boom, you got bluegrass. Nice.
Those kinds of things, or just taking a lick. I save all the stuff that comes to mind on my phone as just licks, so that if something comes to mind, I'll think, well, now these go together right here, and and just elaborate on it. I've been doing that probably for the last 6 months, and have a lot of new tunes that I like.
I love that idea. So you got like a big old pile of different ideas, and then you're starting to kind of mix and match them up. Be like, okay, these are
yeah.
Y'all can all be doing that.
I've got, if something comes to mind, I just hit that button, record, play, put it up, put it back in my pocket, and then take them out later on. I've got 200 and some odd, little clips of things that I've just been paring down. So
wow,
it's been worth doing.
And then you've talked a little bit about the idea of, which is just so crucially important, that kind of can freeze people up, is the editor. Because that little voice is saying nope. You got, and you had some good ways of talking about how you got to get him out of there for a while.
Yeah,
so the flow can happen.
Every camp and every place where there's been a class on songwriting and tune writing that I've been go to, just that's one of the reasons, because the editor pops up, and every last person that has been teaching these classes all say the same thing about it, is you just turn the editor off and don't let it get involved. If you're doing a creating process, just go with it, give everything a chance to become important, and after you get done with something and get it kind of put together, then use your editor to polish it up a little bit. But the editor can take it away from you. I mean, quicker than you can get it out.
Editor's kind of a hater.
Yeah, it's just like, what makes you think this is any good? Ooh, this really sucks. Throw that away. Don't. Ooh, God, don't play that. Everybody will laugh. You know, you don't want that kind of stuff in your head when you got something going on, and you want to go, yeah, and just get it out.
Yeah, liberating.
Sure. I mean, that's what all this stuff on my phone is. It's all stuff that came running up to the front and said, "Hey, I want to tell you something," and then it went into the recording and it was put away. Sometimes, it's best just to let it sit, and sometimes you can just struggle with it. It's like being in the studio. You can listen to things until the point where your ears are shot and you can have no perspective on it at all. It can be the same way with writing tunes. You just wrestle with it to the point where you're kind of starting to get sick of it, or nothing makes any sense, and it's better to leave it alone. I think Larry Cordles, I heard him say one time that he had been working on a song and had the better part of one done and had it for years and couldn't figure out how to end it. And a friend of his was visiting and was looking through some of his lyrics one day and just went bleh, and this line came out of his mouth right off the top of his head, and it was just exactly what needed to be there. So he said, I just put him down as a co-writer.
Right.
Sometimes, show it to somebody else, because, somebody else's process may be just what you need to get that thing done.
Great comment there, because of course that's what Bill was doing. Like he was, he had these great mirrors, and his fiddlers who would bounce stuff off and like for instance, I think that wasn't it probably that we might have talked about a little bit on Lonesome Moonlight Waltz that Bill had his thing, and then for better and worse, this whole other thing happened with the beautiful B part and all that kind of stuff that maybe came from a fiddler or something like that.
Baker's chords. You can tell that's Baker's chords.
yeah, definitely nothing else like that. So yeah, and yeah, so getting that and maybe just not, right. So like we can be kind of like sometimes like no, it's mine, but then it's like open that up a little bit and boom, you get the angel on the Christmas tree and you're rolling.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a gift. You've been given a gift. If you share it, sometimes that's the way to make it grow.
That's beautiful right there. Yeah, that's a really nice thought. And I know you got a slide in a couple minutes, but would you talk just a couple minutes about your relationship with recording and how that has helped you just develop as an artist?
I think the most important thing, I mean, seriously, is learning what I can live with. When we go playing through, instead of trying to get everything perfect, being around here, and I know you've had a stout dose of it, but being around here, they want everything to be squeaky clean and spit shined, and just going parts and parts. But being around somebody like T-Bone Burnett, who doesn't care if you play a few clams, as long as the energy's good, that's all he cares about.
The energy, the spirit.
Yeah, I mean, it's learning like, well, I don't want to play another take of it. I'm sick of this. I've played this 15 times, and I'm not going to play what I'm hearing in my head, or I just don't have anything better. If you just learn what you can live with, it's like, all right, well, it's not going to kill me if anybody hears this.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure there were some, even David talked about like Bill, having a little bit of, disappointment with like his version of what was it, Big Sandy River, like on Baker's record that he didn't, so everybody goes through that, and what a great thing to. It's like, of course, we're human. And we're not gonna play perfect, and we're not gonna be like this junk, and so but just kind of accepting our humanity within that spectrum, perhaps.
That's really important. But I think I think it's really important what you're saying. It's the important thing to remember is that you're in the middle of a creative process, and the point of it is not about being perfect. The point of it is about getting that art out there and expressing yourself, having your say in that way. The point of it is not making it perfect. That's just asking for to fail.
You couldn't have said any better.
Not being worried about it.
Yeah, I love that, and yeah, you know, maybe trying to have some fun in there too. But
well, it's yeah. I mean, not agonizing until the point that you take all the fun out of it. It's not an invitation to play sloppy. It's an invitation to just be willing to be, as you said, be human and recognize your imperfections and live with it.
yeah, maybe even and love them. One last question before you go: How many takes did y'all do on that? Oh brother, 'cause Mike, you know, as many of y'all may know, you probably heard it if you didn't know it. Mike plays the intro on Oh Brother, it's not Oh Brother, Man of Constant Sorrow. How many takes? Do you remember how many takes y'all did of that one before it happened?
I think we kept the first one. I'm not sure, but I mean, T-Bone. It was 2 or 3, I believe.
Wow.
He really did the first one, and he came through and said what they wanted to do, and we were all kind of standing around with the microphone way on either side and one up above, and I said, well, what were we going to do? And he described what the scene was supposed to be in the movie.
Wow.
And this is going to happen, and then we're going to play this, and he thought, well, what do we do? And he walked through, and he was going out of the room, and he said, "You kick it off," and I went.
Wow. And
you kick it off, and then he left. I went, oh God.
Wow. So Mike's describing this epic moment of one of the most important recorded pieces of music in music history, the most famous bluegrass song in the last 25 years, and this is how it happened. Just he's walking out of the room, and you kick it off.
I couldn't think. Well, I don't have anybody else today. Can I show you very briefly what it was? It was singing the vocal using downstrokes.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you.
And it's all Bill Monroe licks. You can sing it right with it. The constant sorrow. That is all it is. It's singing the melody.
Well, the tone you're getting of there is just like, it's just so amazing. It's so perfect, and that's absolutely one of my favorite recordings of all time. So thank you for that, and well done.
Well, I mean, it could be as simple as that. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you play downstrokes in that manner, that substitutes for a long note too, and that's all it was.
Totally.
Because I couldn't think of anything else to play.
Well, your instincts served you and the world remarkably well that day, and we're all better.
I auditioned to play the I Am a Man of Constant Sorrow for that movie, but for some reason they didn't take me. I thought my version was much better than Mike's. I went like this.
It is very happy. It's very happy.
Yours is a little marchy.
For some reason they said, "That was great. Thank you so much. We'll call you."
Love you. I mean,
awesome. Mike, thank you so much for being with us again. We appreciate you so much, and we hope we can see you in a couple weeks, man.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. See ya. Oh, that's so funny. That's so great. And it's not the way, you know, this is like, you know, and that's a little bit of the magic of some of these cats, like T-Bone. He's a bit mystical. He understands energy. Another cat on that level is like Rick Rubin. Some of y'all may know him. He was he's in the rap world, but he was the guy that recorded all the Johnny Cash stuff. These are guys that understand energy, and they're not going to be like writing it out and all this kind of stuff and just like kind of over micromanaging all the kind of stuff, and can you do this here and on that bar? And he's like, you kick it off, and then he goes and just lets the music happen. But all the stuff Mike said, that was just gold when it comes to, like, you know, hopefully good inspiration for y'all coming up with tunes. Have fun. I want to do about 10 minutes of talking about composition.
and then we'll get into our round. So I just want to start with the first tune that I ever wrote. I was 11 years old and I wrote this tune called Leather Jackets, and it goes like this. Just nice little happy melody. And it sounds like something maybe 11-year-old would write. It's nice. That's the first part. Here's the second part. Just nice little tune. That's a little melody. Nice little happy tune. So that's where I started off, and then you could easily, you know, Monroe that up, you know. Easily turn it into 3, you know. So you're going from 4/4 to 3/4, same melody, different feels, you know. One thing I want to talk about just real quick is reharmonizing, okay? So this works, you know, this is a little bit of an advanced technique, but you can kind of get after it with using the harmonic minor often, okay? So this is in D major. So if you kind of go to the, you know, the 6 minor, which is the you know, walk it down 1, 2, 3, and you play that same melody. Completely different feel, and so you can take that and do that in 3. And so you're getting lots of action for your same melody. You have one entry price. David?
I want to see you play it jig style.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Go ahead. No, I want to see you play it.
Or something like that.
Totally.
I'm arpeggiating my way through it, but I want to see your interpretation of.
So you're getting just, you know, one ticket, you know, gets you 4 different movies. You know what I mean? And so you can think about that. If you're like, I like this, but I don't love this, you know, then you can be like, and big difference between that minor, you know, the major and the minor, you know, and just big energetic difference. And so these are simple tricks that you can thread through your melodies to double your money, triple your money.
I remember when you first wrote this tune. I remember you must have been about 10 or 11. But you played it for me immediately. And that was really that I had a theory you were a genius before that, but at that point I knew it, because that is a tune you can do anything with. And the thing is, you can make it a 3-chord. Let's see. But you can add minors and. You know, you can add all kinds of. You can chord it up if you want.
Totally.
So it can turn into an extremely advanced tune out of this little core of, you know, elementary simplicity. You can take it to any distance. You can take it as far as you want.
Absolutely. So the second tune I wrote is called Opeckin. It's a little creek around where I live, and it goes like this. And so and this is just me cueing off of, like, what I would hear, a little bit of Bill, a little bit of David, a little bit of Red, and I'll just show you real quick and make one little point about it. It goes like this. And so nice little tune there, very just like kind of like almost stocky, in the sense that I was like, well, I'm gonna write a mandolin tune. What do mandolin tunes sound like? And I thought that's what mandolin tunes sounded like, because it's all just kind of, there's nothing new under the sun. So it's the same paragraph, same words, just different order. And yes, so Josh just commented on the chat there that the second part, Maury River Blues like, and it's exactly the same as Maury River Blues. I just thought that's what mandolin tunes sounded like. I just thought that's what mandolin tunes did. I thought most of them kind of went do 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 on that second part, there, and that's just what I had in my mind. And so
this song was, in my opinion, was the first demonstration that you understood earth tones. Not just because it's in a minor key, or you have a little part borrowed from the Maury River Blues, but you make it your own. It's completely original. The thing is I can guarantee you on the Maury River Blues, somebody could come up to me and show me a song from the 1920s or 30s or the 1800s that has a lot of the same stuff. So how do you be original? Well, really you can't, because I guarantee you, and this is one of my games I love to play, bring me any original thing you do and I will find where a passage or a passage fragment comes from. You cannot come up with a chord progression or a melody, an 8-note passage fragment that has not been done before. It's like, arithmetic. You can't come up with a formula, an arithmetic calculation that hasn't been done before.
A lot of people have been trying to write music. A lot of people writing music for a long time, and you have to remember there's only 3 notes in the arpeggio that makes up the chord. So there's a limited number of gambits that you can make, And so you're always starting on the 1, the 3, or the 5, and there's only if you're going from the 1, then you can go to the there's just a unlimited number of choices, and all the low hanging fruit has been picked. But that's okay, because we can do it our way, and we'll always sound like ourselves.
Another thing I'll say is that there's absolutely nothing Monroe ever composed where you can't find something similar to half of an A part, an entire A part, half of a B part, an entire B part, something from the past, some old fiddle tune. And it really doesn't have as much to do with the chord progression. I'm talking about writing something that is entirely original. If you rejected everything because you knew it sounded like something else, then basically you need to quit writing.
Yeah.
And just give up.
Yeah.
Because everything you could possibly think of has been done before.
That's right.
So, with that in mind, you have to remember that it's how you make it sound. Like the way Monroe played it, it's how he played it that makes it original.
That's right. That's how
those fragments together.
Yeah, what you're putting into it. Of course, I couldn't. We always gonna sound like ourselves. I know that Wyatt's got a split here, and he's going to a fiddle workshop. But I want to show you one thing that I've been working on. I've been talking about this for a year, and I just want to show you that I sat down with the computer and I worked for about 2 hours on it, and then I lost everything. So I'm starting over. But it's this. So I'm going to show you this just real quick. Okay. So if y'all can see this is the Monroe Mandolin Appreciation Society. Most of y'all are probably in there. Okay. But this is this thing I've been talking about. This is tracing the old time tunes towards Bill's compositions. And so this is a survey of everybody in the, the Monroe Appreciation Society. It's got like, almost 5,000 people in it. And if you're not in there, we'd love to have you. But so this is a start. And so folks are voting on what they think are the most important old time tunes. And I just posted this today, so we haven't even, gotten to a lot of them. But these are all the most common old time tunes that I could think of. That led to a lot of Bill's, synthesis of creativity. So y'all can check that out if you want to. That's the Monroe Mandolin Appreciation Society, and so that is in the works. I started the little graph, and like I said, I worked on it, and it was starting to come together. At first, I thought there was just going to be a few tunes, then I just kept thinking of one more, and a lot of these have similarities between them. But they kind of all had their own distinct identity, and before I knew it, I had like 25 at the top, and the map's getting pretty big. So I got to start over. I'm still working on it, and that's and I was threading in some of the tunes, some of the songs too. Anyway, so that's that, and we wanna go over and start our round.
So at this point in the workshop, it goes around to the student round, where everyone in the workshop that wants to play can play the selections, play whatever they want, and receive feedback. So if you'd like to join the Monroe Style Jamming Workshop, we would love to have you. Please send me an email, Christopher@noyamountainmusic.com, and we'd be glad for you to join. All right, hope you enjoyed this workshop, and please, if you would like to support this work, consider being a patron at patreon.com/noyamountainmusic. All right, cheers, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.